I tested 5 of the newest AI tools released this month, and one of them didn't just save time. It completely replaced entire workflows. We're not talking about small upgrades. We're talking about AI that can research, write, organize, and execute tasks for you, almost like a real coworker. Welcome to TechWise, where we test AI tools in the real world. Let's start with something that quietly changed everything. The first tool isn't just another chatbot. It's what AI was supposed to become years ago, something that actually does things. OpenAI's GPT 5.4 was released in early March, and on the surface it looks like a normal ChatGPT update. But once you start using it, the difference is obvious. Instead of asking one question at a time, you give it a full task. For example, instead of saying, "Summarize this article," you can say, "Research this topic, create a structured report, and format it for presentation." And it doesn't just answer, it executes. I tested this with a simple workflow: market research for a tech topic. Normally that takes about 2 to 3 hours, reading sources, organizing notes, writing a summary. GPT 5.4 did it in under 10 minutes. But here's the interesting part. The real value isn't speed, it's continuity. It keeps context, connects steps, and moves from research to output without you repeating instructions. And this is where things start to shift. Because now AI isn't just a tool, it's starting to behave like an operator. But if GPT 5.4 is about power, the next tool is about efficiency. Now, let's take this one step further. Google just released Gemini 3.1 Flash-Lite, and this one surprised me more than expected. Because instead of focusing on intelligence alone, it focuses on speed and cost. And the difference is immediate. Responses are almost instant. No lag, no waiting, just output. I tested it on a repetitive task, generating multiple variations of content ideas. What usually takes several minutes across tools was done in seconds. And this changes something important. Because when AI becomes fast enough, you stop using it occasionally, and you start using it continuously. But there's a catch. While it's incredibly efficient, it's not always the best for deep reasoning tasks. So this is where a new pattern emerges. Different AIs for different jobs. Fast AI for execution. Powerful AI for thinking. And this is only half the story. Because the next tool flips the script completely. Instead of faster or smarter, it comes bigger. Anthropic's Claude 3.5. Opus is built for something most AI tools still struggle with: handling massive amounts of information in one go. We're talking about entire documents, reports, code bases, long conversations. I tested it by uploading a large multi-page document and asking for analysis, restructuring, and improvement. Normally, you'd have to split that into parts. Here, it handled everything in a single pass. And the result? More coherent output, fewer inconsistencies, and a much more human-like understanding of context. But here's what surprised me the most. It wasn't just summarizing. It was connecting ideas across the entire document. And this is where it becomes powerful. Because instead of working piece by piece, you start working at the project level. But now comes the real shift. Because the next tool isn't a tool at all. It's a completely different way of using AI. But here's where things get interesting. March 2026 is the moment where AI agents start becoming real. Instead of asking AI to do one thing, you give it a goal. And systems built on models like GPT 5.4 and Claude can now research, analyze, write, format, finalize without you guiding every step. I tested this with a simple instruction: create a full content plan for a YouTube channel in the AI niche. What came back wasn't just ideas. It was structured topics, scripts, positioning, and even content strategy. End to end. And this is where everything changes. Because the limiting factor is no longer execution, it's direction. If you give clear instructions, these agents can handle the rest. And this is where it starts to feel less like software and more like delegation. But here's the most practical tool of the list. Because everything we've seen so far is powerful, but still slightly abstract for everyday use. Now let's bring this into real daily workflows. Notion AI 3.0 is where this agent concept becomes tangible. Because it lives inside a tool people already use. And that changes everything. Instead of jumping between apps, you stay in one place. I tested a simple use case, creating a full report from a single prompt. The process looked like this. You write one instruction. It researches the topic, structures the document, writes the content, and organizes everything in your workspace automatically. What used to take multiple tools and at least an hour now happens inside one interface in minutes. And here's the key insight. The best AI tools aren't the most powerful ones. They're the ones that fit into your existing workflow, because that's what makes you actually use them. And finally, let's talk about something most people are still ignoring. Because the last category isn't built for creators. It's built for real businesses. Tools like Basis AI accounting platform and Zest AI are bringing AI into areas like finance, accounting, and decision-making. And this is where things get serious. These tools don't generate content. They make decisions. I looked at how they're used in small businesses, and the impact is huge. Loan approvals, financial analysis, accounting workflows. Tasks that required expertise are now partially automated. And this opens a completely different conversation. Because AI isn't just improving productivity anymore. It's starting to replace specialized processes. And that's a much bigger shift than most people realize. So if you step back and look at all 5 tools, a clear pattern emerges. AI is moving in 3 directions at the same time. More powerful, more efficient, and more autonomous. And when these 3 combine, you don't just get better tools, you get a completely different way of working. This isn't the future anymore. It's already happening. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of how AI is actually changing the way we work.